I considered borrowing some money from a relative to send Rachel to rehab. Rachel told me herself that she knew of other parents who'd spent thousands of pounds sending their son or daughter to this for them to just discharge themselves 2 or 3 days later and walk away from it.
Rachel started to change from being, as I say, the most loving girl to a more standoffish person. Some of the occasions when she came home, we'd have the shouting matches, she'd be in your face, she'd shoot out the door, I'd go after her in the middle of the night and sit out all night sometimes with her, trying to listen to her, trying to just be there. But being there and having somebody that you absolutely love to death shouting at you with her face that far from you, it's so much aggression and hate, because I suppose I represented everything that was the normality of things, and she was trying to achieve that. I do believe that, but unfortunately the drug is so insidious, it doesn't allow you to think above your own problem. Your main problem is you've got to get that drug. You've got to have it inside you to take the pain away.
In the end, Rachel was unable to play her pieces of music. It was extremely upsetting to watch her sit down at the piano. She would dissolve into tears herself of frustration because she couldn't get the notes together. It just wasn't right anymore. Until in the end, of course, she just stopped playing completely.
Her eyes had changed. She was in pain. She wasn't a happy girl. So that she wasn't outgoing as demonstrative with her friendliness. She was agitated. And physically she used to scratch herself and stuff. And then we knew that there was a really serious problem.
She had many wonderful attempts at trying to get off of heroin. Some of them lasted 2 to 3 months. During one of her times when she was off of heroin, Rachel decided to reapply for university. She got acceptance by all 6 universities this time and chose Bath, which we'd visited with her. And she moved there in August, September time, 1999, to take up a degree in psychology and sociology. Unfortunately, not long after she'd moved down there, we had a phone call from her telling us the boyfriend was also with her. Christmas 99 was the only Christmas that Rachel spent away from home. We wanted her to be home for Christmas, but she told us that she couldn't leave the boyfriend because he had nowhere to go. We heard afterwards from her that it was the most awful Christmas she'd ever spent. And there were so many problems, they were getting on top of her. She dropped out of university and they had moved to Exmouth in Devon. I'm not really sure why. Rachel never said why it was going to be Exmouth. I believe it's because we owned a caravan in Sidmouth that we frequently went to. And she said that it would be easy to see us when we went to the caravan. So I like to think that that might have had an influence on why Exmouth was chosen.
The last time we saw Rachel, she was really excited about our wedding. It was all planned. I had a little tiara that I bought for her. Which was going to be a surprise.
In the week before her death, I remember it very clearly. On the Sunday night, Rachel had telephoned me and confirmed what she'd said to me when I'd seen her 2 weeks before, that she was definitely leaving the boyfriend she was with, starting up a life on her own. On the Tuesday morning, she telephoned me to tell me that her bags were packed and she had a taxi to take her to work, and she would then be going straight to her new lodgings and she'd ring me that evening. On the Tuesday evening, she did ring and she said she'd arrived safely. She was relieved that she'd done it and she was quite happy where she was. We made arrangements that my husband and I would go down to see her that following weekend, that we would arrive down on the Friday evening, and we arranged to meet her Saturday morning. On the Saturday lunchtime, we were feeling quite angry with her actually that she hadn't turned up to meet us. All sorts of things were going through our minds. She might have slept in. Had she actually left the ex-boyfriend, or were they in fact moving together? Did they have rent problems? And then my elderly mother telephoned me on my mobile phone. And my mother was upset and crying, and she said, "I shouldn't say this, I don't want to worry you, but I've just seen a news flash on the TV, and they say that they found a 21-year-old girl dead in her room at Exmouth." I knew at that point, I just knew that it was Rachel. So my husband and I were walking back to the car when the mobile telephone found again and the police contacted us. And they had actually found her on the Friday night, although she'd probably been dead for 2 days. In fact, we believe that Rachel had died on the Wednesday. I really don't think for some time it's sunk in. We spent several hours with the police answering questions. And really all I can remember is that when we left them, we went to a park nearby and just sat on a seat in total silence for what seemed like hours.